Hey y'all, welcome to another What Else is Going On, aka We Go podcast episode. I'm your girl, your host Taria. So we get ready to get into the latest episode of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. I got my boots on the ground. So boots on the ground, episode 8. Normally I do try to give y'all a little look, a little something other than workout gear, a little necklace, a little earring, a little lip, a little up top outfit. Y'all, with the way this sun got me in New Orleans on my shoulders and my neck. I barely want to put clothes on. I actually have to go work out later and I'm scared because of the sweat. So somebody told me to get some aloe because I'm using hydrocortisone, the prescribed level. Somebody told me aloe too because I'm good until I start itching and I don't want the sweat to burn like it does when I get it on the back of my neck sometimes. So we shall see. But let's go ahead and get into this episode. So the episode opens up with Shamia's country song, child recapping everything that happened in the previous episode. It was cute. Day two. It's day two. We've been in Nashville, right? 2 days. Britt checks in with the hubby Mike. She's still holding on to Angela and the question she asked her at the peach brunch. We have been over this a million and one times. Shamia said Angela lost her license. Her words. Angela said yes. I'm sorry. Shamia said Britt lost her license. She said Britt told me she lost her license. Britt agreed, yes. And Angela said, how? Like, what was the cause? She was asking a question. Britt got defensive. But Britt is still holding on to it. We then see the different ladies doing different things besides Britt. So Shamia called to check in with Gerald because Shiloh was in the hospital. Shamia got, sad because she said it's been like just like one thing after another. She also said that Gerald has shown up and been there. There has never been a time that he hasn't shown up and been there, with their kids. He's in it as much as she is in it. And that's why she feels like she has to give him this son. And I thought, even at the expense of her, meaning if she carried, because we know what happened before. But then even if they go with a surrogate, which we saw Shamia earlier in the season meet with Shadina, who carried Shiloh, who ended up having breast cancer. So she's going to get another surrogate. Shamia is also worried about the health possibly of the new baby. And that could be stressful. You're going 9, 10 months not knowing. Yes, you're getting the different things done, the different tests that could be run while the baby's in utero, but that's still a lot. And Shamia feels like almost like she's obligated because Gerald is doing what he's supposed to do, which is showing up and being present for all the things. So I don't know. Y'all let me know what y'all thought about her saying that, like that being the reason that she feels like he's owed a son. We see Angela and Cynthia talking. I thought it was funny when Cynthia said, "Child, I was going to ask you how you, to let you know you still standing, but I see you sitting down." I was like, Cynthia, it's funny. But Angela wants, they talk about what was going on the night before at the dinner, and Angela's explaining, like, look, I'm loyal to all my friends. The ladies don't get it. So the whole table full of people were talking about my friend. I'm going to step in and say something. They also wonder where Drew has been. Angela said, well, Drew did let me know this morning that she got on the flight. They showed the text message. Angela said that was about 3 hours ago. She should be here. But then I thought about to the beginning of the trip. Remember when the ladies because they were saying Drew should have been there because Cynthia was like, the flight is only 35 minutes. But think back to when the group of ladies that all went together for the start of the trip, it was 35 minutes. Yes, the flight. And then Kelly was like, how much longer, Portia? They have been riding for hours. So it would make sense that Drew wasn't there on time unless something was filmed or done out of sequence. They had stops. I don't know. Because Angela also, matter of fact, didn't say, oh, it took a long time to get there. So why did it take the other group of ladies so long? Who knows? Anyway, so, they're talking about the Portia and Drew of it all, and Angela inviting Drew, and Cynthia saying she said it earlier in the episode and she's saying it again. Baby daddies are sensitive. Don't let nobody come over there asking her about Leon. Anyway, so then Drew arrives. And I felt like that had to be weird for her coming in knowing that Portia didn't want her. Or is she thinking, well, it's just Portia and the other ladies are cool? To me, I would never based on what I've seen on the shows and what Drew obviously has to know of Shamia, because her and Portia were friends and there were pictures of her hanging out with Shamia also, like throughout the years, it would feel kind of weird because I wouldn't necessarily think that if Portia's mad, Shamia gonna act a certain way towards me. But I wonder if Portia knew all them other ladies went and why they ain't show them other ladies on camera anymore. Like later on in the episode when they had two groups, one whiskey tasting and one do this. Oh, or had they flown out? They just flew in for that night and flew out. Anyway, I was just thinking it might have had to be weird for Drew. But in her confessional, Drew says she's been contemplating not coming, but she said her and Portia have been friends for years. Maybe if she sends in an olive branch, it'll be cool. She goes in to see Angela. Angela getting her makeup done and that wig tacked down, honey. What kind of glue was under your mother effing wig? That was funny when Portia said that. But Angela's getting her look on, getting ready, tells her she's glad she's here, tells her to go look at her room. And Drew was like, because it's two bunk beds. Child, we know how that goes. Anyway, and at the end of the day, she wasn't invited. So it's like, at least you got a room. So Angela advises Drew, look, just go in, say happy birthday, and pull her aside to talk, like telling Drew, just be the bigger person. Meanwhile, like I said, Angela's getting his hair and makeup together. So all the ladies come out at different times, just waiting to get on the Sprinter van with their day. Drew looks cute. All the ladies look cute in their own way. I was gonna say, Shamia, ooh, you need a stylist. But then I thought, you know what? Style is relative to the person. Or style is subjective, right? Or fashion is subjective. One of those, style or fashion, one of them is subjective, meaning who am I to tell a person, girl, you look like the 80s or the 90s out of fashion? Who am I to tell somebody that when that's their own personal style? Again, I was going to say it, but it's like, Shamia does have the money. So we may feel like, girl, you got money and you always look like this, but maybe she wants to look like that. Maybe that is her style. I think it'd be one thing if she was showing up to black tie events, let's say, dressed in that blue dress, like what she had on the show. Then it would be like, girl, time and place, time and place. You may need a stylist to help you with that. But I mean, child, at the end of the day, that's Shamia's own personal style. I'm just going, right? Right. All right, let's get into it. But the ladies all look cute in their own way. So Shamia and Portia are getting ready together. Shamia asks Portia if she's going to be able to enjoy her birthday with Drew there. So they show a flashback to Cynthia texting the group, letting everybody know Drew is here. What group should she go with? Whiskey or Dancing on the Bar? Child, what's that? Coyote Ugly. And they say Drew can go if she wants to go. Drew says, I think whiskey sounds good. So Portia tells Shamia that Angela, I'm sorry, was gaslighting her about Drew. Child, dun, 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 Captain Shamia to the rescue. Captain Save a Friend, Shamia to the rescue. She said, I'm just going to tell everybody no gaslighting. Is that going to go for everybody? That nobody can gaslight Drew, nobody can gaslight Angela, nobody can gaslight Cynthia, nobody can gaslight Kelly, nobody can gaslight Britt, or is that specifically for the birthday girl? Because it is her trip. Drew tells, they all come downstairs. Drew tells Portia happy birthday, gives her a hug. Portia gives her a hug and says, how's your trip? So they're cool. In her confessional, Portia says, once I've expressed myself, I'm not going to throw daggers every time I see you. I'm good. We all in the Sprinter van. Everybody gets on, talking about how they're going to get lit. All of a sudden, we see Shamia crying in the Sprinter van. I thought maybe she was telling Kelly, because she was sitting in between Kelly and Britt. I thought she was telling Kelly about Shiloh, because we hear Kelly say, are you okay? And somebody asked for a tissue. That's when I realized she was crying when they asked for the tissue. So she talks about how back in 2008, she was married for 1 year and her ex was abusive. And then she spoke about it. They show Kenya's 2018 domestic violence event. And she was talking about being abused. She says that a lady sent her a text today, that morning, that she hadn't talked to. She said that's the same, that lady is the same person who she tried to tell the lady why she was divorcing. And the lady kind of shut her out about it. Didn't want to hear about it. And today the lady apologized through text. So Shamia said that text messages woke up a lot of old things, that had happened to her on top of what was happening with Shiloh. So in her confessional, Shamia said, look, he was wealthy. He was a good guy. Everybody thought he was just so great. And on their 1 year anniversary, they were outside of a famous hotel. And he hit her so hard, he knocked her up out of her first pair of Louboutins. Louboutin, however you say it. She said she was really embarrassed because she felt like everybody on the patio was just staring at her. I could imagine. And especially if nobody steps up, does anything, it's just kind of like almost like a child getting reprimanded or beat. Well, no, I would hope somebody would help a child. But, I could see her embarrassment. And she said she found herself not sharing her story. Seeing that text from the lady who once dismissed her story made her feel validated. She then asked Cynthia how Cynthia's mom was doing. They show another flashback of the same event that Kenya held in 2018 of Cynthia's mom telling her story about being abused. So they're all comforting Shamia, telling her, look, she looks great, girl, you good, yada, yada. So then we see group one, Portia, Shamia, and Kelly going to the Coyote Bar together. Portia says today is about libations and lessons. Then we see group two, which is Cynthia, Drew, Britt, and Angela, go to the whiskey tasting. Group one is having a good time up on the bar, taking shots, giving blowjobs to the glasses. They all did a pretty good job at that. Learning how to just mix up the drinks while group two is over there getting lit, taking bottles down. I said, is they taking bodies down? But it was funny because while group one was giving the blowjobs to the glasses, group two was being very demure, very mindful with their glasses and end up toe up from the floor up, especially Brett, but we'll get to that later. So with group two, Drew was telling the ladies, look, I was thinking I would give her a bottle with our picture on it to Portia as a peace offering. And the ladies were like, yeah, that's a good idea. So Kelly, we back at Coyote Ugly, asked Portia, yo, what was up with your friends last night at dinner? Are they friends with Drew? Because remember, they came kind of hard, like she was sucking Zach. Like, what? Anyway, so I'm with Kelly, like, are they friends with Drew? Because for them to say that, number one, too, on camera, they couldn't have been Drew's friends. Portia was like, they're all basically in the same friend group, you know? I do kind of feel like because they were like, where is Drew at? Either A, Portia told them Drew wasn't coming and was kind of hoping they maybe said something on camera, or B, she knew that they would expect Drew to come. The number one reason, outside of them all being in the same friend group, the number one reason is because Drew is a housewife, and this is a housewives trip where all the housewives are normally there. And then number two, because they were all friends, because Portia and Drew were good friends. So I feel like the second option, if Portia didn't tell them, she knew they were going to ask where Drew was on camera, and that would be a conversation. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Or did it just happen to happen like it did? Sometimes you feel like with these shows, like what's supposed to be real, but what is created is every single thing created to bring out a real emotion. Anyway, so Portia is saying that and she's flipping it on Angela and saying the way Angela brought to the group that Drew was coming, she was setting Drew up for the ladies to all feel a negative vibe or negative energy about Drew coming. So she did it on purpose. And I was like, I don't know if I agree. Maybe Angela's delivery could have been better. Maybe. We could argue that. But I don't think Angela was purposely trying to set it up with the group so that they receive Portia in a bad way. Again, I do believe there was a little bit of housewife stuff going on, but I also feel like Angela was sincere in her motive. For one, I could think it could have been twofold. She was sincere about what to do, and Angela's also being a housewife, and she's friends with Drew. So, but I don't think she was purposely setting it up so that she could set Drew up. But then Shamia says, well, Angela was telling me that she was me and Angela rode together to the peace brunch, and she was saying she felt some type of way about Drew talking trash to Kelly, and I got to figure it out. They play the flashback of Shamia and Angela in the same car going to the peace brunch. What Angela says is, whatever Kelly, I heard that Kelly was throwing a little shade last night. Whatever Kelly had to say is fine. We'll find out. But I'm more concerned about Drew's reaction. Now, so Shamia kind of ran it back a little bit, like it didn't quite have that same umph to it. Granted, we know Portia is not always a friend to the truth, but she has said the way that Shamia has brought stuff back to her may have had a little more oomph to it. And I thought about that scene where Miss Diane was like, gotta watch the dog that carries the bone or whatever. Was she not actually talking about Shamia being a dog or a bad person, if you will? And was she just talking about you got to be careful about how it's brought back to you? Meaning, like, the way it was brought back to you, was that how it really happened? Or was there a little bit added to it? I don't know. I still feel like Miss Diane, it was kind of like, wow, when she said it, because she's known Shamia for all these years. But at the same time, that I don't know why, but that scene, we see how Angela actually ran it back. I mean, how it actually, what she actually said. And then again, I know Portia and the truth don't always hold hands, but Portia has said on more than one occasion how, especially on the after show, which we'll get into on the members only, how it was brought back to her a little rougher than how it was said. Does Shamia do that? Does she run it back just a little bit different? I don't know. And then they have been drinking. So, anyway, in the meantime, they go back to the whiskey ladies, and Angela's letting Drew know they missed her the night before. Britt and Cynthia are agreeing. And Angela said, I held it down for you, meaning defending Drew. And the ladies were like, yeah. Angela said, at one point in time, you and Portia were really good friends. And she basically was trying to get back to that place. But where she messed up was having Drew come without Portia's permission. Britt said, yeah. And then you were trying to play the victim about it. So Angela was like, well, what do you mean? And she was like, she said, you brought her without really getting permission from Portia. And then when everybody's telling you, hey, that was kind of out of pocket, you're like, oh no, me, I'm the victim. And basically playing dumb, like, why is everyone coming at me? And I started thinking, is that playing the victim, or is that like Angela literally was like, well, Portia, you didn't say no, but now when I'm here, you have all this to say. Because I didn't feel like Angela was playing the victim. I think she was just kind of stating what happened and like, well, why is the energy shift now that she's here, Portia, when the energy wasn't like that earlier? Now, one could say, well, the energy shifted because you keep bringing it up, Angela. You keep bringing up that Portia's coming. And now Portia has said on her YouTube, Angela didn't bring it up once. She just kept bringing it up, kept bringing it up, kept bringing it up. And finally, it was like, okay, the girl's coming, even though you didn't ask me. And that's why Portia's energy was shifting. So, I don't know. So, Angela was saying, then the brunch got brought up. Britt said, you're acting like you were catching all of the heat. Then Britt brings up the piece brunch and is like, look, I don't feel like y'all had any level of empathy about what I was going through. She felt like everybody was like, well, guess what? You and Kenya are even now. Angela said it was the way you walked in and sat down, you came across entitled. Now, remember, Drew said when her and Britt had to sit down last episode, it kind of felt like it was like a little bit of gloating, like, Kenya ain't here, which I got that too. And Angela is saying you came in kind of like you were entitled to our feelings. And Drew had a good point. She said, us showing up was support for you. Yes, we missed our friend, but we also were showing support for you. So Cynthia says, you cannot tell this woman how to walk into a brunch after something like that has happened. Unless y'all pictures are up with a penis in y'all mouths in front of a room full of people, come get at me when that happens. So Britt said, how would you come in when you've been in your house crying for 3 days and upset? Y'all worried about the way I come in? She starts crying. Now, look, I know people are like, Britt, get over it. Britt, own it. If you would own it, it would just go away. Here is where I'm at with that. Yes, Britt can own it and say, that happened to me. No matter if you like Britt or not, because I'm not the fondest of Britt. I'm going to be very clear about that. However, because she seems very combative, but however, people could tell her, just own it. You're getting on my nerves because you're not just owning it. Just own it, just own it, just own it. She can own it and still be embarrassed that it happened. People are acting like, yeah, she put it on the World Wide Web. Yeah, she did webcam naked. She's at a different place in her life than where she was then when she did it. So yes, it could still be embarrassing for her. I totally get that. I do feel like there is a part of her that's like, y'all shouldn't even care about Kenya because of what happened to me. And that's where I'm like, these ladies, especially Cynthia and Drew, have been, and even really more so Cynthia, have been friends with Kenya. So yes, they're going to check on her as well because you threatened her. I don't care what nobody said. You saying you have pistols and whips while being in an argument with a person, you are indirectly threatening them. So I get why they would check on their friend as well. But like Drew said, it doesn't invalidate your feelings. I felt like she wanted them to all come in. Bad Kenya, bad Kenya, bad Kenya. Glad she's gone. Britt, are you okay? Let me cater to you because baby, this is your day because pictures are displayed of you with a penis in your mouth. So there's room for both. There's room for them wanting to check on their friend Kenya and for them saying, "Oh, I also can understand how you're embarrassed." And I also think there's room for yes, she was a webcam model. Because I'm looking at it from the perspective of it not being just Brit, but as a woman. So me being a woman, if I made those choices years ago, and now here I thought I got past it, whatever, and now it's being displayed in front of this group of people who it wasn't easily accessible to because I don't care what anybody says, them pictures were not easily accessible. You don't think them pictures would have been out there by now? Come on. They would have definitely been out there by now. So I don't think they're as easily accessible as people have said. However, I can still see why she would feel embarrassed. And I'm not going to down her or berate her for something she did in her past that she's feeling embarrassed about. She can feel that way because I know I would too. Anyway, so Britt tells Drew, I hear you. Angela apologizes to Britt and says, in a war of words, we were trying to say things to hurt each other. And Cynthia says, we still have to give this woman empathy and still love our friend, meaning Kenya. All right. So, child, they all go back to the Sprinter van. Britt is looking like she is somewhere else mentally. I'm not gonna lie, I was cracking up. Cynthia was like, because Kelly was like, "Oh, looks like the whiskey tasting tore y'all up." Cynthia was like, "Britt don't represent for all of us. Britt is a lightweight." So before the dinner, Britt is talking to Cynthia, thanking her for showing her some compassion. Child, Cynthia was eating a plate of food. It looked so good. I was like, Cynthia said, "I need something to eat to soak up this whiskey before the dinner." So when it was time for dinner, Cynthia came down them steps looking good and they got a back shot of her. I said, my golly, Miss Molly. I didn't know Cynthia had all that wagon back there she was dragging. I said, look at the bump in the back. Go ahead, Cynthia. In her confessional, Cynthia is talking about the cowboys that were in the kitchen at that time. Y'all, I literally screamed when she said, somebody come fold me back up because child, I'm over here open. I said, I'm definitely going to use that one. Probably in a different context, but I'm gonna use that one. Angela came down. She was looking good, had the lace on. Mama looked good with the red lip. Britt said, "Oh, all I need is a whip." Angela said, "I'm sure you have a whip, Britt." Britt said, "I do. I just didn't bring it." Again, they all look good in their own ways. I said, "Now everybody titties is out except Portia." I felt like seasons back when Cynthia went to get her breast examined or something for something, and they were all there, and Kenya was like, "Titties." That's what I felt like. They were everywhere. Portia came down, quiet and covered up. The back, you could see the back out a little bit through the net, but she was quiet and covered up. She came down, all demure, maybe not necessarily mindful, but demure. And there is a part of me, and listen, I have always liked Portia. I have seen her for her ways. I can admit that. But now after that show, we're seeing her more and more, like more and more is slipping through the cracks. Again, I never thought Portia was always just so innocent. I did like Portia, but I'm trying not to scratch y'all. But now I'm seeing, even not now, I'm seeing more and more of her ways with other people are coming out. Y'all know what I'm saying. So this is not that I dislike her, but I'm gonna call it like I see it. And I feel like when you come downstairs like that, if you got a call that shifted your energy, you come down and you'll be like, y'all, I just got a phone call. I don't really want to talk about the call, but my energy just shifted a little bit. So if I'm off a little bit, y'all just give me a little bit of grace, but I'm going to try to rally. Then there are people that come down and want to be the thermostat and change the entire temperature of the room in a non-positive way. And I felt like she knew everybody because it's her trip. Everybody's gonna be like, "How's your birthday? How's this?" I'm fine. I can't stand one of those. I'm fine. I'm good. But they're purposely not trying to rally people. Just tell me straight up. I am not fine. I'm not trying to talk about it, but I'm trying to rally. So if I'm quiet, just give me a little bit. I would rather have that. Because the people that don't, I do feel like sometimes it does bring down the entire energy, the vibe, right? Nobody's bigger than the vibe. That's what she was saying. Also, I get it. She said in her confessional that she got off after she got off the phone with Dennis because she had called and checked on Pilar, who was with Dennis. She got another phone call with somebody telling her that Dennis had actually been filming with Drew, and it sent her over the edge because her and Dennis had a conversation about that specifically. And then they show a flashback to the outing that they had with PJ and her and Dennis in the car. And she telling him, "Look, I don't want you filming with her. You need to choose your family." They all go outside. They have a line dancing instructor. All the ladies was kind of like looking. But then other cowboys came out. In her confessional, Cynthia said, "It goes down on a girl's trip, honey." You know, she had a flashback to Bolo. In her confessional, Drew said, "I didn't really see any eye candy." And I said, "I'm with you a little bit, Drew." Okay, anyway. So, and I don't care what nobody say. Every line dance is a spinoff of the electric slide. Period. So they was just a getting it. Child, I said, they is bouncing down there. They all come down and sit at the table. And because right before that, Shamia had made a joke about all of them look like they was ready to milk because everybody's titties was out. I said, if I was a man, I just would have motorboated up and down that table, starting on the left side, brrr, went all the way around with consent, of course. All right, then, of course, when they were eating, the ladies were asking Portia what was wrong. She was playing with her hair, saying, "I'm tired. I'm just a little bit tired. You know, that's all." They talk about the whiskey tasting. Britt says we resolved a lot. Then Britt tells Angela, "Why don't you tell them what we talked about?" So Angela is like, basically, Britt told me that y'all feel like I come across like I'm the victim, and you're thinking she's going to say, "And I can see that," and she says, "But I'm gonna be honest, I still don't understand how I come across as the victim." Britt says, "Well, then you didn't take anything from it." So Britt says, "Well, look, you said you and Portia share the same sentiment. Portia, do you fit? What did you call it last night? Victim Lena?" Because she had called him Victim Ena. So Shamia steps in, dun, 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 save a friend. Shamia steps into the rescue and says, "You were gaslighting Portia, basically, while Portia's just eating, while her troops rally around her, letting Shamia speak for her." So Angela directly asked Portia, like, "How am I playing games? Like the things that you feel, can you say them to me pretty much? How are you feeling about me and about all this? Can you say it to me? You said I play games. What does that mean?" Portia says, "I don't remember." Let me move on because that's making me hotter than what's going on my chest right now. So she says, "I don't remember." Britt says, "I feel like you wanted Drew to come, even though Portia was like she wasn't invited." Angela says she never told me that. So now we are playing a little bit of a semantics. So talk about the Zoom call, and Portia saying everybody on the Zoom call is invited, and Angela saying you didn't say Drew wasn't. So then somebody was like, "Drew, were you on the call?" And she was like, "No, I wasn't invited." Of course, if I call some people and say everybody on this, if I'm in a friend group and only call 4 people from the friend group and say everybody on this call is invited, then y'all know that means the other folks are not invited. But Angela's playing it on semantics. And I love every minute of it. I said, "Yes, Angela." So Angela apologizes to Portia if she offended her in any way. They show Portia like looking off over her shoulder. We don't know if it's at that moment that Portia really did that or not, or if that's how it was edited. Because there was a few times that Portia looked over her shoulder. Angela says, "I do want to know why I'm the only one being held accountable for something." Kelly said, "I don't think that's true." Child, Angela says, "Well, Kelly, you initially asked the question about why Portia stole that lady husband. That's the way they were saying it. And did you get the answer you wanted? I said, Angela. Kelly said, that's two separate situations. Angela said, I don't believe it. I don't believe it is. Britt said, you're deflecting. Angela said, no, we're not. So Kelly said, I got my answer. Angela said, well, the world wants to know because the world didn't get the answer. So Portia's sitting there quiet. Cynthia said, I think we should move on. Portia, do you want to answer Angela's question? I'm sorry. Portia says, I want Angela to kiss my behind, but kiss my ass. Angela said, the rest of the world can kiss your behind. I said, come on, Angela. Yes. Angela said, I'm not good finna do that, and the rest of the world can. Portia said, you first. I did think that was funny. So in her confessional, Angela says, I don't want to kiss Fix a Flat. I'm basically just trying to ask questions that everybody wants to know the answer to. Drew then addresses the elephant in the room and says, Portia, happy birthday, and, all the things. Here we go. Drew says, I just want to ask a question. Are you good with me being here? Because I wasn't invited. Portia said, you straight, and then looks over her shoulder again. Drew had a shot out like she was ready to cheers to Portia's birthday. And Drew says, I guess Drew wasn't expecting that you straight. So Drew says, I didn't come empty handed. It is Portia's birthday. I brought a bottle and I'm going to leave it for her. And then she decides to leave. My thing was, that was the night before they were leaving. So were they plan on staying the rest of the whole day? And so Drew was like, well, I'm just going to leave early in the morning. Like, I'm going to remove myself from the dinner and everything else until I leave. So Shamia says, but she didn't tell you you had to leave. And the ladies are like, no, she didn't tell you she had to leave. Come on now. The energy, I would have felt kind of like, too, coming from earlier that day when they embraced whatever. I don't know. Everybody's talking for Portia. Did y'all peep while Portia was like smirking and eating? In her confessional, Portia says, you got your behind on a flight to the birthday party of a woman who you snuck behind her back and did things behind the scenes with her child's father. And me saying you straight made her leave? Sayonara. Portia puts on her soft voice and says, look, after Drew is gone, I'm not a mean girl. I haven't been mean to her all day. I'm sitting down here, this one, and talking about Angela is doing whatever she's doing. And then she says with Drew, it's the dramatics for her. Like, it is not all that. I haven't made you feel unwelcome all day. In her confessional, she said Angela and Drew could have got it. Like, back before, she would have met them right where she was at if the men in her life weren't on her ass. She said, I would have set the place on fire. So then Portia gets up from the table and just goes up. Eventually, all the other ladies go up. Drew was talking to Shamia and Angela and says she's going through a lot right now that is unfair, and she's not going to keep subjecting herself to what she feels like Portia is putting her through. It's too much. Portia goes, lays on the bed, Portia was in her bed. Cynthia goes and talks to her and is like, look, I thought you and Portia were really friends. At one time, Portia says she got a phone call right before that was really bad about everything going on in her life. So is she saying that she actually got two phone calls? Or was it the same person, i.e. somebody on production that tells her, hey, Drew was filming with Dennis, but also this is what's going on, maybe online, whatever, with Simon. So she said it was all just too much. She gets to a point where she starts taking off her lashes, and Cynthia says, girl, not the lashes. Portia said, we just breaking it all down, and proceeds to pretend like she's taking off her wig. So look, Cynthia gives her a hug. And Cynthia says, look, I always say they can't count you up. You never fall down, you fall up. They laugh. Portia says, thank you so much for being here. It's special. It means a lot. It's like home. Cynthia's like home because she's part of the ATL, Real Housewives of Atlanta history and legacy. They do all that. Cynthia with her glass in her hand says, you want to pray before we go out there? Portia says, you've been praying over that alcohol. So they laugh, go downstairs or whatever. As they're opening the door, Portia says, I feel like everybody's naked because you can hear the girls laughing. Some of the girls put on their bathing suit. Cynthia said, look at all them asses going out the door. talking about Shamia, Britt, and Kelly. Then they show Angela. Angela says she going to bed. Shamia jumps in the pool. Portia jumps in the pool. The next morning, Kelly and Britt are in the same bed. Britt says, I heard Angela was looking out the window recording us at the pool. In the meantime, they show Angela. Angela's talking to a producer and says, I heard some things yesterday that I wish I didn't hear. The producer says, oh my gosh. In her confessional, Angela says last night around 2:30 a.m., she was on the phone with Charles. She heard her name, looked out the window. She see Portia, Shamia, Kelly, and Britt at the pool. I guess Cynthia had no went in, child, because it was 2:30. She said Portia was inebriated and all her truth fell out. She said she hears them talking about how she dresses, like her, well, she says my dress, I guess meaning the way she dressed maybe. And they spoke about my husband. She then says she hears her name and is like, oh, they calling for me, so I'm about to go answer. She goes downstairs to them and says, is I guess confronting them. And Portia says, so you came down here to tell me you heard me say Charles's name. And Portia is wrapped up in that towel, honey, and she gets out of Dodge. And as she's going up the steps, because if you look at that scene, when Angela went down there to confront him, it looked like what was probably a producer standing behind them. Portia gets out of Dodge, as Angela said, like she gets up out of there. And you hear Portia saying, I'm not on camera, as she's going up the steps. Portia says, I didn't say anything about you. I didn't say anything about your husband. Now, in the confessional, the producer asked Portia, did you say anything about Charles or whatever? Because it basically, she finds out that Angela was filming them. I don't know if Angela told them or what have you, but she knows that Angela had been filming them. So in her confessional, Portia tries to make it like Angela is so creepy for recording them. And the producer asked her, well, did you say anything about her husband? And Portia says no. Portia says, I didn't say anything, okay? In her confessional, Kelly says, child, I thought we was downstairs making a music video. It jumps to Britt's confessional. Britt said, I was hearing Charles had a baby. Shamia said that he's always out with these different women, allegedly. Child, we back to Kelly. And then they show Drew leaving. Because remember, it's the next day. So it's early in the morning. So I guess Drew waited, maybe couldn't leave the night before, but waited till the next morning. Anyway, Kelly says, I thought we was making a music video. And Kelly says, all I remember is Portia saying she better stop before I F her husband. Remember, Portia said twice, though she didn't say anything. Baby, 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 baby. Back in her confessional, Angela says, you better listen when Portia... Sorry. Angela says, you better listen when Portia says she want to F your husband, because as history has shown, she will F your husband. Now, I know people will say, that means that she don't trust her husband. That means, I don't care what nobody say. I don't care if you know your husband ain't with it. Somebody in your friend group says she better be careful or she better stop. I'm gonna F her husband. Full stop. That ain't even something to joke about. And I said that in the video that I did previously. If y'all haven't seen it, check it out, because Portia apologized on Watch What Happens Live for saying that to Angela. She called her Inspector Gadget. Why you ain't say it when Angela asked you? Why you ain't apologize then? Why, when the producers asked you, did you say something? She says, I didn't say anything, okay? And try to make it seem like Angela was so weird for recording y'all when she heard her name and y'all was talking about her and her husband. She should have said it with her whole chest then. So I hate when people try to make it like, oh, you don't trust your husband, or you shouldn't be married. I'm going to have an issue if somebody in my group is like, oh, Taria better stop or I'm F her husband. Like, why would you even joke like that? And that's just me. Everybody else may think differently. Like I said, that's me. So again, I get where, so after she says that, so we find out Portia lied about not saying anything. Kelly says that. So Drew and Angela are leaving together because Drew was like, our Uber's almost here. They're leaving first. Kelly comes down. Good morning. All bright and friendly to Angela. Angela's like, good morning. And Kelly was trying to take it further. I think she said something like, how did you sleep? And Angela's like, look, I don't want to be fake. And Kelly's like, I'm just saying good morning. And she was like, good morning. I get it. I'm fine, but I don't want to be fake. I get Angela. In her mind, she's thinking, Kelly, you was down there keying, laughing, taking a part of the conversation too. Even if Kelly didn't say anything at this point, Angela may not 100% know that. And she's like, I'm not getting ready to be fake and kiki. It's one thing to say good morning. We say good morning, but how did you sleep? All of that. Nah, we didn't get ready to do that because you was down there with them heifers kikiing as well. So Kelly's like, this is just me. And Angela's like, I get it. But again, I'm not going to be fake. In her confessional, Angela's like, look, I've been attacked. All of that. So at this moment, I really don't give a F. You can keep it. So Angela and Drew leave. As they're leaving out, you hear Angela, allegedly, I'm saying allegedly, I'm being funny, but you know how sometimes they can put people's voices in, but I do think Angela probably said this because, well, was she still mic'd? I don't know. We hear Angela say, the buck stops here with all that bullish. She said, telling Drew that Shamia is a puppet, Britt is a puppet. They're all puppets to Portia. Then the episode ends. I said, oh, Portia should come out with a line, puppets by Portia. Whether it's a specific wig line of the colors of the puppets. Like some people like green hair. Some people like pink hair, like Miss Piggy. Some people may like red hair. So that line would be puppets by Portia. Portia, if you come out with puppets by Portia, it is Tuesday, April 29th at 2 p.m. I said it first, to my knowledge. Anyway, y'all let me know what y'all think about the episode. I'm gonna be honest. I like how Angela is like, nah, I ain't get ready to kiss Portia's behind like all these other chicks around here. She say something, I'm gonna say something. Point blank. If I say something, she say something back, I'm gonna say something. I'm enjoying Angela. I'm also enjoying Kelly. Britt gets on my nerves because she's combative. It seems like if she feels like it's always, again, I'm not mad at her for feeling a certain type of way about poster boards being displayed of her sucking somebody's penis in front of people. Yes, she did it in her past. Yes, she was naked on the webcam with her past. Now, from what I understand, the pictures were pictures that she took for an ex-boyfriend. The webcam stuff was when she was sitting naked on the camera with her friend having a conversation. Either way, as much as we may feel like she's dragging it a little bit, or because I agree that I feel like she wants the ladies to be like, F Kenya, it's about me. I still do feel like she has she can feel embarrassed about what she did. Now the whole her thinking that they probably need to be like, F Kenya, I'm the one that was the victim here. Again, they were friends of Kenya, so I don't expect them to not check on Kenya, to not be concerned about Kenya. And I do believe Britt came in with the whole she ain't here now type thing. So I get that. But I do believe she also has a right to feel embarrassed. I would be too. But y'all let me know what y'all think about the episode, what y'all think about Angela. Like I said, I am really enjoying Angela. And I will talk to y'all later. See ya. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and you'll be able to find it. So for the people watching, please go over to wherever it is you listen to your podcast. If you have the podcast app or what have you, type in what else is going on and just follow the podcast. If you're listening to the podcast, y'all come on over to YouTube and see the visual or subscribe to We Go Podcast. That is a free way to support the channel. I'm thankful for all of y'all's support. If you're listening, please go to WeGo, WEIGO podcast on YouTube and just quickly hit the subscribe button. I love y'all so much, and I will talk to y'all later. See ya.